like one of my goals is to be a wise person, right? And so wisdom, you can grow wisdom in this age. I feel like in my 40s, I was so busy with life and kids and driving around. And, that was exhausting. There really wasn't time to really think about these things. And now that I'm in an empty nest, I think the advantage of that is now I have time to kind of, who am I? What is my purpose? What's my calling? What am I put on this earth? There is this space that, and it could go either way. It could go to like, I'm settling for life. I'm getting older. I have no purpose, or wow, I have this window opening up and now I have this energy that I put towards raising my family that I could put towards something else.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 27 of The Age of Lions. So glad that you're here. What an exciting start to a new year. We've had an incredible couple of episodes already with Jenda on week one of this year. And then this last week we had Frank Schwartz from F3. It was an amazing interview. It's incredible, the traffic we're getting, the comments we're getting. So excited to have so many of you listening and watching. This week, as you heard in that opening section, we have an incredible guest. Her name is Chris DeHollander. Chris is a functional health coach who specializes in helping coach women who are north of 50 through all things health and fitness and mindset, many other things. She's a former engineer with 20 years experience in the fitness world and is doing incredible things, has got a huge following, and we are really thrilled that she said yes to be on the podcast. She was one of those people that she came into my feed and I thought, man, she sounds like she would be great for our audience. Bring a specialized point of view, talk to the women in our group, help the men understand what the women are dealing with and how they're growing. And I just reached out to her and she was so gracious to reply and say yes and agree to be on here. And I'm so glad that she did, because this next hour is going to blow you away. She's got some incredible things to say, and I can't wait for you to learn and grow from what she has to say and her experience and how she coaches people. Hey, before we get into that, just want to remind you to subscribe, like, follow on the different channels wherever you're listening, whether it's Apple Music or Apple Podcasts rather, Spotify, or one of the other platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you get into that. Hey, go to ageoflions.com. Make sure you get on our list so that we can contact you from time to time with updates and things that we're working on, surveys and things where we send out stuff to get opinion back. It's a great place to be just so you kind of are in the know of what's going on. And I'm going to tell you at the end of the episode today, we got some amazing guests coming up. Can't wait for you to hear about that. But hey, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it with Chris DeHollander. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hi, Mark. I am doing great. I'm excited to be here and chat with you. I'm so glad that you reached out.
It's so good to meet you. We were talking a little bit offline before we got on here about how this all happened. And you're one of I've had a few people like you that I don't know personally or haven't met before. And that's been really fun. But you're kind of a big fish. You were in my Instagram feed, and I was really, really blown away by your platform and what you're doing to help women with health and fitness and other things as they're aging. And I thought, man, she seems like the perfect guest. And I just took a stab and you said yes. So we're thrilled. We're thrilled that you were so willing to help out.
Yeah. So I don't even know much about you, Mark, but just for like the 5 minutes we spoke, but from what I just read about your podcast, it just aligned with what I really believe, and it's in my heart and my passion in what I do to help women, mostly women. I have some male clients to, eat healthy, exercise, move their bodies. And, a lot of it is around nutrition and fitness, but I always tell people, like, I don't care about your belly fat. I don't care about all this stuff. I care that you have the energy and the vitality to live out your passion and purpose in life, like what you were created to do. Because if you don't have your health, then how are you going to have the energy to do things beyond the daily necessary things? So that's really where my passion and desire lies.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, for people who don't know you or don't follow you or don't know your platform, I'd love for you just to tell us a little bit about your story, your background, your family, and kind of what led you to this point to focus on what you call functional health. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I'm 56 years old. So it's like, how much do I tell you about my whole journey? So I will just kind of tell you a little things that I feel like are really pivotal in becoming the person that I am. And, I think the first thing that pops into my mind is that I grew up in a deaf household. My parents were deaf, and, from birth, they were deaf. And so that's the way I grew up. And everyone's so fascinated when I told them that, like, what was it like? And I'm like, it was normal. That's just what I knew. It's like, you just grow up and that's what you know. And so, but I think that, growing up in a deaf household, the deaf community back then was different. The opportunities that deaf people have now are just so much better than it was in the 40s and 50s when my parents grew up. And so they basically graduated high school, didn't have any opportunity for college with a 5th grade reading level. And so a lot of what, I remember growing up and just stuck into my head is that I had to figure things out. Like I was the one helping my parents, like, interpret bills that we got from the electric company. And I was the one making phone calls for them because they couldn't call. And I was a 12-year-old, talking to the other person on the line and saying, this bill is wrong. And my parents are like, saying that this isn't fair. And then I had to interpret it to them. And I was this very shy, introverted child growing up. And so, but what growing up in that household really made me figure things out. So I'm a person that can figure things out. And, I don't have a hesitation. I can just be like, oh yeah, we'll figure that out. And that's one of my favorite sayings is like, okay, we're going to figure this out. Whenever you're in a situation, it just kind of, we'll figure it out. And so that's a kind of a calming thing for me. But so I grew up in a deaf household. I was the first to go to college. I actually got a degree in engineering. And so my brain, I'm a questioner, I'm a thinker, a problem solver, and did that for 9 years and decided to stay home with my children. And that was the biggest blessing that I could do. Sure. Is to be able to have that option. I know not many people have that opportunity. So I stayed home with my children, and I was always into like health and fitness. And that's when I started to teach group fitness classes. So I've been teaching group fitness classes since 1997. And that's part of my story too, because again, as a shy, introverted child, I just really got uncomfortable and started teaching, and I was terrible. I was terrible. But I was like, I just want to do it. And so I think part of my message today for those that are listening is that, if you want to go for something in life, like, you may not be the smartest cookie, you may not be like the expert in anything, but the determination and willing to get uncomfortable is really what's going to get you there. Even like this podcast, like I'm not on podcasts. That's one of the reasons I was like, let me do it. I don't know how this is going to go. It might be terrible, but I'm going to check the box when we are done and say, you know what? I did this. I got uncomfortable. I don't normally do this. If you want to get good at podcasts, guess what? You have to get on podcasts. So everything is like a learning, growing thing. And so for me, I started teaching group fitness because I needed something to do for myself. And then of course, most people that get into this nutrition space are trying to figure out what's going on with their own bodies. And they learn so much from their own struggles, like we turn our pain into passion. And so I always dealt with this underlying fatigue, which I realized was really just burning out, like trying to do it all. Like I really remember like being tired from an early age, like engineering school, I had to be graduated number one in my class. I studied all the time. I didn't really have fun. And moving into like later on in life, I was taking care of my dad who was sick and not healthy. And that was a stressor. I was trying to grow my health coaching business. And then I decided to do a half Ironman event, and my body just broke and I was just dead. And so I was trying to figure all this out. And in the same time, I was in nutrition school, functional nutrition school, and realized I had what I call adrenal fatigue. And so anyway, you learn so much by your own journey. And so I just have this passion to help women feel better. To a lot of women come to me wanting to lose weight. but I just want them to be healthy, vibrant, energetic, so that they can live the best life that, God put them here on earth to live. And so that's kind of been my journey. So I went back to school and started my own business, and 10 years later, here I am. And for some reason, God just wanted to blow up my Instagram account. And so now it's like a large account. And
It is.
Right when my kids went off to college and I was going into empty nest, it just blew up, which was great timing. So I didn't feel the tug between wanting to parent and then wanting to do my business. So like God worked that all out for me. So now I have this big account, and I just am in awe sometimes at what God has done to give me this platform. And I think it's a very big responsibility. And I do feel that. And so that's kind of a little bit of my story. I could go off and say more about all of that, but that's kind of the journey that I was in.
Yeah, that's so cool. What's one thing we ask everybody near the top of the podcast interview is, what was your kind of moment of sort of realizing, even though I may or may not feel good, or maybe I'm mentally fine, or maybe I still feel hip, or whatever the thing is, but I am aware that I'm getting a little bit older. I'm kind of crossing over into that thing. And it's a different thing for each person, different age, different. What was that moment for you when you kind of had that aha moment of, I'm moving into a different phase of life here? What was that wake up call for you?
Yeah. There's so many times I have that, like, I notice, hey, I'm the oldest one here. But I think what really stood out to me was, I live on this cul-de-sac, and I have two boys. They're 24 and 21 now. And we moved into this house when I was pregnant with them. So they grew up riding their bikes around the cul-de-sac. And, I knew all the neighbors because they had kids. And then slowly, some of the neighbors moved away. And there was always Alan and Linda lived in this one house, and they were the older couple. They had kids in high school, and they moved away. And so I turned to my husband, like maybe 5-ish years ago. So I was probably 50s. And the kids are the neighborhood kids are in the cul-de-sac. And I looked at him and I said, we are the new Alan and Linda. Because they're all out there, and we're like the empty nesters, and they're all like, watching their kids and socializing. And so I think that was the moment when I saw them out there, and I was like, we're the new Alan and Linda. And then now, like as I'm with my kids, I'm like, I have moved into the role that my parents were in now. Like, I'm the parent, my mom is now the grandma. So like, it's like I'm in this season. And so, another example, and there's a point to this, is that I was doing a certification for this cycling class that I had to teach. And it was a 2-day thing. And I was looking around the room, and I think I'm the age of a 40-year-old. And I realized that I am closer to 70 than I am a 40-year-old. But I feel like I'm the age of a 40-year-old, not the 70-year-old, right? It feels so like a different, but I'm closer. So I'm in this certification, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I am the oldest one in here. Oh my goodness. But I will say, I heard the saying, I'd rather be the oldest one in the gym than the youngest one in the nursing room. So I'm going with that. And so I'm trying to reframe it when I notice that I am the oldest one. Instead of focusing on that, I'm like, you know what? I'm here with the young people. I'm keeping up. And that's always fun. That's always fun when I can keep up.
I totally get that. We're a blended family. So between us, we have 8 kids, and they range in age from 37 down to 15. And we've kind of been on that journey where we both had children really young. We both were 19 and 20 when we started having kids. And so that's, I'm 57, my son is 37, and same for my wife. She's 57, her son's 37, her oldest. Yeah. But in those days, we were always by far the youngest parents in the room because everybody else was a little bit older, 20s and 30s and so forth. And now that we have this 15-year-old, it's completely flipped because we're in a room with parents who are in their 30s and 40s with kids that age. And he's never said it, but I'm sure someone has said to him, "Are these your grandparents?" You know, I'm sure it's happened, or at least they're thinking it. Because when you look around the room at other, you see grandparents at the band thing or the choir thing or whatever, and you're we're probably closer and more similar to them in age than we are to the average parents. It was kind of funny. One of his first little girlfriends. We were meeting the parents one time, and they were the age of our oldest kids.
Oh,
God. But we had children the same age.
Yes, so yes.
It messes with your head a little bit, for sure. But hey, no disrespect to Alan and Linda, wherever they may be. Shout out to
and it's funny because like when you see someone your age on TV and you're like, they're my age. Like I feel like they are, but I just feel like, no, I'm not their age. Like it just feels different. Like I'm still the same person inside. I think people don't realize that we are the same person, no matter what age we are. We're the same person.
Yeah. I heard a story one time, about someone they were flying and they were sitting next to what we would consider probably an elderly lady, probably in her late 70s or 80s, much older. And they were talking and kind of having a conversation about this kind of thing. And the elderly lady or older lady said to her, the only thing that's different is my body. Like I feel the same in my mind as I did in my 30s and 40s. And it's weird because people look at you differently, treat you differently because they think of you as old. She goes, I don't feel old. I don't think of myself as old. I know that I am. I've got, I see myself in the mirror. I know how old I am. But that always stuck with me when I heard that story because it reminded you that these are people just like you that are just in a different stage of life, and we will all, if we live that long, we'll be there as well at some point. And so it's definitely changed my mindset about that for my own self, just as I'm growing older, but also how I treat and think of the people around me who might be significantly older and kind of what they must be feeling and thinking. Because it is really interesting. What would you say is one of the main ways? And again, you're obviously very fit, active, healthy, thriving. But how do you feel different now than you did in your 40s or 30s? What's a key difference, and how have you processed that change? How are you kind of dealing with it or handling it or whatever? What would that main thing be for you?
I think when you say feel, like of course there's the physical aspect of that, but there's also like the mental, the emotional aspect. And I think like mentally, I feel like one of my goals is to be a wise person, right? And so wisdom, you can grow wisdom in this age. You can't get any younger. If I did a half Ironman, I probably, won't beat my time, and it's fine. So some things you're slowing down for and you can't really increase. Although I am getting stronger, which is so cool. I did my first pull up like 2 years ago. I never could do one in my life. So I think that there's room for getting stronger in certain things, but getting wiser and just a little bit, I'm learning so much about our brains and our thoughts and living this intentional life. It's just being more aware of how I'm feeling and being intentional about how I want to go into situations and how I want to like live my life, and just doing that like weekly, like sitting down and having purpose. I feel like in my 40s, I was so busy with life and kids and driving them around. And, that was exhausting. There really wasn't time to really think about these things. And now that I'm in an empty nest, I think the advantage of that is now I have time to kind of, who am I? What is my purpose? What's my calling? What am I put on this earth? Now that my children are not needing me as much. Now, adult children can be as stressful as younger children.
That's right.
We have other things besides they didn't take their nap or, they didn't eat their vegetables. But I feel like there is this space that, and it could go either way. It could go to like, I'm settling for life. I'm getting older. I have no purpose, or wow, I have this window opening up and now I have this energy that I put towards raising my family that I could put towards something else, And I think that that's where I'm at right now. And it's very exciting to me. I wake up with excitement. And I think that, to be honest, in my 40s, I was tired. I was trying to do it all, and now it's like a little bit, I've learned to let go of control. I have more calm and peace. And I think I just, through hard work and reading lots of books and taking lots of courses and implementing and taking action, I think now I've grown into a person that's a little bit more calm, less control, relies on God more, and is a little bit more peaceful and joyful. I hope, one thing that me and my family do at the end of the year, and we're going to do it soon, is that we get together as a family and we have a family like planning thing. And one of the things is we go around the table and we share like how we thought each person grew in the last year. And it was such a special time that we had with our family, because I have two boys. They're not like talkative and sharing feelings all the time. So it just kind of opened up that door. And one thing that they said to me, which was my goal, was like, Mom, you just seem more present with us and more like growing towards the Lord, and like all the things that they said. I'm like, yes, I'm glad that it shows, because that's what I want. I want to be present with relationships and cherishing them more than maybe I did before. I think in the 40s, I was chasing more achievement, accomplishment, winning the triathlon. I don't win the triathlons, but those type of goals where I'm kind of shifting more into, what am I put out here on earth for? Like what does God have for me? And so that's a long answer to your question, but does that make sense to you? Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I was going to say, it's so great to hear you say that unsolicited, like we didn't prep that, because it's literally what we talk about on here every week. It is the whole point. And I love how you said it in such a great way, because it's like all your energy and resources were going towards something, and it was a great something. It's raising a family or your career, whatever. That's all wonderful. But now that has shifted, and as we get older, we do have that opportunity to rethink, reimagine what's possible. Dare to do something different than we did before, because we do have, as we've said on here, if all the regular listeners have heard me say this many times, but we have more control of our life typically as we're older. Maybe we're higher up in our company, or we own our own thing, or whatever. We have more time. Hopefully we have more money, resources. We have a bigger network. We have more experience. We have all this stuff just kind of sitting there. And to your point, it's like, what are we going to do with it? It's not a time to recede into the shadows. It's not a time to retire. We had a guest on a few weeks ago, and he said retirement is moving into absence. That word literally means pulling back. And I thought it was really cool how he said it, because it's so true. What we're challenging people to do, like you, is to say, hey, there's more for you. And probably there's a likelihood it's the best season of your life, because you have these options. You have things that can happen that maybe couldn't have happened before because of stage of life, kids, family, whatever, career. And now you have some choices that you can actually make. And instead of, and it, like you said, it's hard work. It takes a lot of effort. It is not going to happen by accident. You're not going to fall into it. But if you choose it and you do the steps necessary, do the work, the reward, to your point, is so great and so worth it. Because like you, I wake up excited. I'm excited about this platform. I'm excited about my work. I'm excited about my family and my marriage, and the intentionality, that word that you said, that's everything. It's what I get to choose. What am I going to do? How am I going to be intentional about this? How can I make it better with God's help and leadership? How can I be more faithful with all these things He's given me? And I believe that our generation, Gen X, and it probably goes into the boomers a little bit and so forth, but we have an opportunity to impact the world in a major, major way. And that's the whole idea here, is I hope people are watching and listening and getting inspired to go, okay, he can do it, she can do it, they can do it. God has something for me too, whatever that is. And I'm going to find it, and I'm going to pursue it no matter what it takes. And it's going to be awesome. And that's kind of the whole point. You obviously are an expert, a specialist on aging and health, especially for women.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, when you think about aging well, what are the most overlooked non-negotiables that really matter in the second half of life, whether that's for women or men, but too, but what are some things that in your mind are non-negotiables that we have to do in order to do that well?
Yeah. So I love that question. As a nutrition and fitness coach, I will tell you, eating more protein is going to be key, and being intentional about that. Most people think they're eating enough. For example, 2 eggs is 12 grams of protein. And ideally, you're eating at least 30 grams of protein or more at each meal. And so 2 eggs is a good start, but I always tell that to people and they're like, what? That's not a good protein breakfast. I'm like, it's good, but it's not quite enough. And so, I think that's a huge one, is getting enough protein, because we are losing muscle mass even as we age. We need more. We just can't get that protein into our bodies. Muscle protein synthesis happens, and it's just less. So we require more in order to support our muscle mass. And of course, strength training too. Like, we're losing muscle, and that is going to be the key to being stronger, being able to live on your own longer, and just to sit down and get up, when you're 80. And, I will say this, one of the greatest gifts my mom has given me, because she was the one that inspired me to be healthy. Like, we grew up in a healthy home. She was lifting weights before it was even popular back in the day. And we just loved hiking together. Like, we bond over all that activity. And she is 87, living on her own, requires minimal help. And I was like, that is such a gift to me that I want to give that to my children. And so when I'm 87, but you got to be doing these things now. So I always share that with women, because sometimes they feel, or even men, like, oh, I can't, take the time to exercise because I'm going to serve everyone else in my life except take care of myself. But really, you are serving other people when you take care of yourself, because then, you have the chances of living this healthy lifestyle longer, and be more independent. So I would say those 2 things are what the major shifts that I had to make in this season, is more the strength training. I was a cardio junkie. I love running and biking and swimming. I did Ironman, half Ironmans, marathons, but the strength training and the loss of muscle. And it's not just like to look good. It's again, it helps with your bone density, all these things that we are concerned with. And if you're not actively strength training, you're losing muscle every year. So
that's such great advice. I think, it's interesting. I think people kind of fall on 2 sides of this. One is, they think it can't be that simple. Surely there's more to it than that. And so they're always looking for the latest fad and all the extra stuff that they do. And I'm not saying any of that's good or bad. Some of it's probably both, but I think they sort of question it. But then there's the people who also say, I don't even know how to start doing that. Because like you said, you got to do it for yourself. You can't take care or serve other people if you're not healthy. It's the whole put the oxygen mask on before you help if you're on an airplane, it's like, you've got to be breathing so you can help, that kind of thing. And also you mentioned there about the investing in yourself now. That's also key. I think I know I was guilty of this, of kind of kicking it down the road. And someday I know I need to do it. I don't want to do it, or I can't take the time, or, I'm running this company with all this stuff and I'm traveling, and how can I possibly. But like I was telling you before we started, and again, the audience has heard this a few times, but when I made this transformation this year, I remember after the first couple of weeks of working out, and it was, it was hard. Like, I was dying. I was so sore. And I told my wife, I said, I'm so glad I started this now at 56, technically, when I started, and then turned 57 right after. But like, what if I'd have waited till I was 60 or 63 or 65? Like, I'm struggling to kind of get over the hump now, because you don't realize how weak you are. You don't realize, those things that you don't use. So if we're out, the thing I do with F3, we're out in the field and we're doing like bear crawls, I couldn't hardly do one. My shoulders were weak, and, now I can do them, and
those are hard, by the way,
crawling around like a toddler, but it's just, it's, you don't realize my legs were weak. Like, I couldn't jump the way I was shocked at how weak I was once I kind of got out there and tried it. but it did come back. It came back relatively quick, but I had to work at it. But yeah, people, I think they just keep kicking that can down the road, and they're gonna regret it. And I know I did to some degree, and would have more if I'd have waited longer. But it does take so much effort. And sometimes I'll say this: people, I think, get overwhelmed with all the health stuff. It obviously is everywhere. It's a big part of our culture. It's a noisy sector, with lots of voices in it. And it says a lot about you that you've had success and being able to stick out in that, because it's so crowded. But people who feel overwhelmed by that, or they're like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what I would do. What do you say to somebody like that who says, I know I need to do something, I don't know how, I don't know what, and it's so overwhelming, I just want to sit down? Like, what do you tell them? Just do this. What's that first step they need to take?
Yeah. And, first of all, I want to say something to what you previously said is like, you are the youngest you'll be right now. Right now is the youngest you will be. And so I have a lot of women wait. They wait till after that travel. They wait until after the wedding. They'll wait till that. And so they're always like waiting for the perfect time. And so that's what I want to encourage anyone listening is like, there's not going to be a perfect time. That doesn't exist. And even perfection doesn't exist. So I'm a big fan of, doing what you can with what you have. So think about a goal that you can do. Like I always say, look at your week on a scale 1 to 10. I want you to be 80% confident you can make that goal. So like if you're saying I'm going to go to was it F45? Is that what you should do?
F3.
F3. It was F something. F3, 5 days a week for an hour. But realistically, that's a lot to jump into. So let's see, what can we do? Can you go for a 10-minute walk at lunchtime? If you work at an office, can you just that's what I used to do. I worked in an office as an engineer. I put my sneakers on, 10 minutes, and then make it an I can do goal. I think a lot of people underestimate the compound effect of these small things that you do daily. And then you add on to that. And you think of it like my husband's a financial advisor. So think of like an investment. Like if you started investing $10, $100 when you're 21, that's if doing that consistently over time adds up. And that's also pertains to our health. So that's what I would say is like 10-minute walk. Can you do that? Can you move your body? Let's not even worry about joining a gym. Let's just move. Eat meals. I think people don't eat meals anymore. They're grabbing, they're throwing, they spend, more time planning their vacation than what I'm going to eat today. And so I think just slowing down and having maybe one breakfast that gives you that protein you need, and then just start with the one and repeat it, have it every day. You don't need to make 5 different meals all the time, but making some goals and just slowing down and saying, okay, what can I do? Do a confidence check, on a scale 1 to 10, how confident am I to be able to make that goal? Because you want to make goals you can do. I've read that somewhere, someone just made it a goal to floss for 1 tooth. I'm going to floss with 1 tooth because I know I can do it. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to floss everything every day. They were like 1 tooth. So start with the 1 tooth, whatever that looks like for you, and then add on to that. But you have to be intentional. You know what I mean? Because your brain is going to want to give you all the reasons why you can't do it, and you can't fit it in. So I see a lot of people with the all or nothing thinking, I can't get the 30-minute workout in, so I'm going to do nothing. Well, what can you do? Can you do a 2-minute walk? Can you do some jumping jacks? Get started, because, Mark, is probably the first couple weeks is the hardest. But then once you get through there, you get through some kind of breakthrough where you're like, I actually like this. I'm looking forward to going. I get to see my friends. And then it becomes who you are. Mark, you're probably there. You're already leading the workouts. It's who you are. It's part of you. And so, but our brain wants to keep us safe and stuck into our old ways. And I don't know why God wired our brain that way. It was wired that way for survival, but we have to make intentional efforts to kind of move past that. So I think that's my thing is you don't have to be stuck. There's thing that you can do, even if you are a super busy person. Think about, things that you are doing with your time, like scrolling Instagram. Oh my gosh, that is such a time suck. There's actually a way to see how long you've been on Instagram. Do you know that? So you can go into Instagram and check your time. And
Okay.
that could be really,
Shocking.
shocking to be like, okay, I just spent 2 hours on Instagram today. What could I have done with that time?
Yeah.
Or online shopping. That's for some women. Maybe they're doing that. Or for men, I don't know what that could look like, but just evaluating your life. But you got to make that decision and just know it's going to be hard. Like just expect.
Yeah. It absolutely is hard. Yeah.
Just expect it. It's not meant to be easy. It doesn't mean, if it's hard, it doesn't mean you're not supposed to do it. It's going to be hard, but you got to choose your hard. You can do the hard now, or then you're going to pay for the hard later.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to pay the piper one way or the other. And that was part of my thing too, is, my parents are both gone, and they were wonderful people and amazing parents and had a great life, but they didn't take care of themselves physically. And they both died too young. They were 69, both of them, when they passed. And, and it was definitely an eye opener to me, to watch that happen and think, I don't want to go that way. I want to try to be healthier, and it really does matter. And I think too, and I'm no expert like you are, but I do think, finding the right time of day is so key for people, and doing it with other people, for me anyway, is really a big part of it, because I don't love going to the gym. I know it's never been my favorite thing. My wife really encouraged me, because a friend had been inviting me to this F3 thing. And I was like, I'm not, there's no way I'll ever do that. But once I decided I need to do something, and she said, maybe you should go with your buddy and try that. And I just kind of knew intuitively, like, yeah, I probably should. And that has become the thing where I hate to miss, even if I have a good reason, like if I'm traveling or something, I hate to miss it, because I really love the camaraderie. I love being part of the group. They miss me when I'm not there, and we'll say so. We do the same thing for other guys when they don't come. And it really does help motivate. And for me, if I don't do it early in the morning, I'm not going to do it. I know that about myself. That's just the way I'm wired. And so our workouts are at 5:30, and that's awful. They call it the gloom. It is.
Yeah.
And we're outside too.
I don't even do that early. That's crazy.
Yeah. Rain, shine, cold, hot, whatever. We're outside. It was at a park just down the street from my house. And it's super fun. But I know if I don't do it then, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go later. Even if it was offered, I'm just not going to do it. And weekends are hard for me. I don't like to do big things on the weekend. It's Monday, it's Wednesday, it's Friday, do. I have to get in that routine, and it really does make all the difference in the world. Let me ask you this.
I bet you don't regret going either, right? Sometimes it's hard to get out.
I always feel good afterwards, even if it was, walking down there, because I just walk is just a couple blocks down the street, especially if it's cold. It's just like, what am I doing? I think I was in bed 10 minutes ago. Yeah. And I was comfortable and life was good. Yeah. But coming back, I always am glad that I did it. And then your whole day is different. You feel more energized, even if you're a little tired or sore or whatever, but you feel like it's like proof that I challenged myself, proof that I stretched and did something hard.
And then you're more likely to eat healthy, right? Because you've worked out. You
don't want to waste it.
You're not well, and you don't desire as much like a cup of coffee and a donut.
Right.
If you woke up in the morning, maybe you'd have that, but like now you're like, okay, what can I put in my body? And it's kind of like this upward spiral. So yeah, I love that you push through that uncomfortable, and then now it's like you probably really miss it. Yeah.
If I don't get to go, I really do miss it. Yeah. Let me ask you this: what is a myth that you're constantly trying to debunk for people, that they think, or they think this is true about health and aging? What's something that you're constantly trying to rewire people on that they've kind of got wrong?
Yeah, I think that what I hear a lot of times is that, well, I guess I'm just getting older. I guess I just, I don't have the energy that I used to have. And like they tell themselves these stories and it just gets confirmed all throughout the day. But I'm all about like, don't settle. Like, what are you settling for? Yes, we're not going to have the energy of our 20-year-olds. I know when my kids come home, there's just so much energy in the house. I miss that. But like settling for aging as an excuse, I'm not taking it. I'm just not going to take it. Now, there's some things I probably need to accept. You know, I can't do some things physically that I used to do, but I feel like I get that a lot from women. It's like, I guess this is the way I'm supposed to feel. Or, my doctor says I'm just getting older, and like giving excuses for things that they could really, improve upon with their diet and lifestyle and just their outlook on life as well. So I think that is what I see keeps women small or men small, of just settling,
Yeah. Since you do work primarily with women who are 50 plus and aging and so forth, what would you say are the biggest challenges you see them facing beyond health and fitness? What are some other things that are consistent barriers or consistent obstacles that you're kind of constantly coaching them through?
Yeah, I think that a lot of women in this age, they're if they have had children, or they've had, mostly it's women who have children, and their life was revolved around their children, and now their children doesn't need them anymore. And so just, I have so many conversations with midlife women about like, what is their purpose? What is their call? What now? Like, what am I here for? And so I think it is a great opportunity to explore that, but I think that they lack purpose and don't know what their calling is, and they just don't know who they are anymore because they poured all their energy and life into really raising their children. And so yeah. I see that a lot, and I do think that can affect your health. Have you seen the Blue Zones documentary or read the book Blue Zones? And it's waking up with this purpose and knowing, what you're here for. And I also think that sometimes we overcomplicate what that could be. Like, we don't take any action because we're just waiting for God's voice and what's my calling? What is my true purpose? And we feel like it needs to be this big thing, like we need to go to another country and be a missionary. But I think just waking up every morning, and this is what I do. I wake up every morning as soon as my feet hit the floor. I got this from Dr. Amen. I don't know if you follow him as a brain guy. And he says, it's going to be a great day. I just proclaim it's going to be a great day. And then I also say, like, Lord, what do you have for me today? Like, guide me, this day is yours. And yeah, I have my day planned out. I time block. I do all the business strategic stuff, but I also am looking, I'm not perfect at this, but I'm working on it. Like, looking in my day of like, okay, who needs to hear from me? Who needs encouragement? Can I talk to the person in the cashier's line and just ask them some questions, like smiling more? I'm not a naturally person who smiles. And I mean, this is work for me to smile right now. But if you're just smiling at someone, just like you're just smiling right now, like it just brightens someone's day. And so I'm just looking for all these little miracles in my life and how I can like slip in and know who needs me. And so I think that could be your calling. Like, doesn't need to be a big thing, but you got to look for it. And so that's kind of and you got to wake up in the morning and fill your brain with the thoughts that it is going to be a good day. Like, look for all the good things that are happening and look for who needs help, and be quiet enough to kind of hear what God is trying to tell you, I think that a lot of, we wake up and we're on our phones or we're scrolling Instagram or checking email or text message. Like, I just don't even pick up my phone for 30 minutes in the morning. It's just my rule. Like, put it away. I've been sitting by my Christmas tree and just listening to music and receiving, like, Lord, what do you have? I mean, there's such a peace when it comes to, doing what he wants you to do.
Yeah. And, I've heard people say this before too. I think a lot of times when people get depressed or get into a funk or whatever, one of the quickest ways out of that is just to try to do something for somebody else. Mm-hmm. it gets that focus off of ourselves and onto somebody else and how we can help them, how we can encourage them. Even if it's a small thing, like sending, like you said, an encouraging text, or doing something for your neighbor in your neighborhood, or whatever the thing is. But like that's where the real joy comes from. That's where the real fun in life, I think, comes from. Yes. It's other than your quiet time and those moments of meditation and really focusing and being with God. Say, okay, what do you want me to do? But then he wants you to go do something. He doesn't want you to sit there all day. Yeah, and so, it really does make a huge difference.
It's the helpers. It's called the helper's high. So you get a helper's high.
Oh, I've never heard that. Okay, helper's high.
There's a book on it, and it is there's science that shows they have stories of people that were depressed, and giving them like somebody else to help gives them this purpose and meaning, and a lot of their symptoms went away of depression and anxiety. I'm not saying it's the cure all, but sure. There's a whole science behind all that. I totally agree with that. And a lot of times if we can just like isolation and being self-centered can really, I think those are the two things the enemy uses to, bring you down. And so just being with people and having that purpose and serving, in the way that God created you to serve, and that could look different for so many different people. I agree with that. Yeah. Helper's high.
Yeah. And, in order to do those things, you do need to kind of get out of the house. It's hard to help. I mean, you can do a little bit on your phone or calling or encouraging. That's great. But when it comes to the other part, you got to get up and get out. You got to go to the gym. You got to go to your job. You've got to go to the store. Like, go do things. And then, like you said, I love how you said, like, my day is a bunch of miracles waiting to happen. I just don't want to miss them. Like, how can I look for that and see that? And there really is so much opportunity to give back. And I think in today's age too, there's a little bit of, and I realize there's irony in this because we're on a podcast talking about it, and you have a big Instagram following, and we're active in those spaces, but like, this is not the end all be all of my calling or your calling. It's part of it, and it's a tool to get the message out and to reach more people, and that's all fine. But I think there's a myth or a mindset thing that people have today. Well, I don't, unless I'm some kind of personality or out in front of a bunch of people, that it doesn't count. And I actually think that's usually the opposite is true. People probably are having more impact in different ways that are never going to be seen. It's not on a screen. It's not, there's not a movie being made about their life or whatever. Those kind of quiet moments are really where there's so much power. And this is fun, and it's something great to do. And again, we're trying to encourage people through it, but this is not the thing. This is a few hours out of my week. The other 100+ hours I'm doing a lot of other things besides this. So, and you are too. So like, it's the real life stuff that happens in all the small moments throughout the day that has so much opportunity for impact. How do you feel like you've grown as a leader, or in your case, a coach, as you've gotten older? What's some wisdom you've picked up along the way that you think makes you better than you were maybe 10 years ago?
Yeah, as a coach, I think I love educating because I'm an engineer. I like to know why we should be doing something. So I think I've, used to be a coach, was more of an educator and cheerleader. And now I'm want to be the coach, and hopefully I am getting to be that person who is really helping change your mind, change your mindset. Mindset's like a big universal thing, but when you can change your thoughts and your beliefs and understand, how you can really change your mind just by changing your life, by just changing the way you view things, like that's life changing. And so I think becoming a coach that more focuses on how do you change your life? How do you change your behaviors versus just, eat more protein, do this, do that. Like that's great. I think that's foundational. I think everyone should be doing it, but really, like, what are you thinking? Like, what is your thought when you wake up in the morning? Do you have, excitement for your life? Can you look at, again, being this intentional life, I'm just so, we live life by default, and just like encouraging people to up level, like you can be better. You can do this, like encouraging them to do hard things. I think we shy away from hard things a lot of times, but that's really how you grow and learn, and that's how you give life excitement. If you're not doing hard things, your life's probably kind of boring. You're probably sitting around watching the Weather Channel, or wondering what you're going to eat next for your meal. But when you have like this excitement, I don't know. I think that's an interesting question. I think I want to be more of a wise person and encouraging them to live their best life versus more of the education on what's going on in their bodies. Although it's fascinating too. I don't want to give that up. So
yeah, it's been interesting. I think one of the biggest things I've learned in the last few months of doing these interviews, it was actually one of the very first interviews we did, and it has really set the tone. His name is Richard Mobley, and he's my coach, like my executive coach, and kind of a life coach. He's really become more of a mentor than just an executive coach. And my wife and I both have been seeing him for a few years, and he's wonderful. And he was one of the early episodes. If anybody's listening, if you haven't heard that one, go back and hear it. It's great. But I asked him a similar question, and he's like an executive coach with people all over the world. And I said, as people age, what's the biggest issue that they face? And he said, hands down, it's mindset. Mm-hmm. That mindset is everything, because like you said, it affects every other part of their life. It affects their physicality. It affects their emotional health. It's obviously very tied to your spiritual health, but they're kind of putting that before the spiritual health. So it affects that too. And I was really surprised by that answer. I did not expect that to be the thing, but it has come up from leaders over and over again as we've interviewed as probably the most important thing. And you've said it 10 times today, like you have to it's making a decision. It's being intentional. It's choosing whatever word you want to use. It's all the same thing. It's like you get to decide, and not deciding is also a decision. It's definitely a thing for people for sure. Well, you've mentioned a lot, through the conversation about faith, and obviously that's a big premise for us and a big foundation for what we talk about on here. How do you think your faith has grown or changed as you've gotten older? You mentioned about how your boys have said, we see that fruit in your life. We see how you're closer to the Lord and all that. But what would you say? What would you say how it's either changed or grown?
Yeah, I think I have realized as I age that, the happiness that we're all like looking for, this fulfillment or that we're looking for, is in knowing who God is and having some quiet time so we can hear his voice. And, as we, I always say we're in the second half of life, we're probably the third half of our life. As we enter that third half of our life, it's kind of like, all this noise that the world brings is really not fulfilling, and then as my faith deepens, I'm, spending more time with him, spending more time listening to him, and not only listening, but acting in what he wants me to do, even though it's scary and, uncomfortable, because, and so I think it can be a beautiful thing when God tells you to do something, you do it, and then it's like a story that happens that unfolds, that this other person was praying for that, and you happen to have that for that person, and you're like, wow, like this really works. And I think that's where my faith has grown, in that true happiness and fulfillment is coming from God. And I know some people who are younger might come to that sooner, but that's the reality. Like that's the way my life is. And I'm glad I found it at 56, and you could find it at 60 and 70. And it's actually freeing, to, say, Lord, you're in control. Like, I feel like that's kind of where the engineering me, the black and white, like wanted to control things and change things. And I'm just like, whenever something comes up, because things are come up, life is 50-50.
That's right.
You've got everyone has something going on, and just like laying it before the Lord. And there's a peace that comes with that. And I think that's where, if I had to guess, that's where my children are seeing a little bit more calm and peace versus this stressed go-getter type of person. And I kind of like that person. So it's kind of nice. I don't want to go back to who I was when I was 40, but it's been a journey. It's been a journey to get there. A lot of reading books, a lot of coaching, a lot of, surrounding myself with people. Recently I joined a group of women because I don't have any older women mentors. They don't know this unless they're listening to podcasts, but I love it. They're in their 60s and 70s, and I feel like they're just my age, but I'm like, I want to surround myself with wisdom and become more like that sooner, so I can just enjoy it more,
Yeah. I think everybody is so hungry for that kind of mentorship in their life, whether it's formal or not, a hired coach or not, or whatever it looks like. But yeah, that comes up a lot too. I think people are so hungry for that. And we have an opportunity to be that for people around us, younger people for sure. And I always try to encourage people to say, hey, don't wait for them to ask. If you feel a need is there or a connection is there, go do it, go lean into it. But also, yeah, it doesn't matter how old we get. We always want someone a little bit further down the path to try to speak. Like I was talking about Richard a second ago, my coach, he's in his 70s. So he's got about 15 to 20 years on me. And it really does make a difference because and it's the perspective thing. It's not that your person is smarter than you, although they might be, but it's just that they have got a different perspective. Yes. And you've said it so beautifully. I mean, it really is a thing about you just worry about you don't worry about the things you used to worry about. You don't care about some of the things you used to worry about. There's more, especially when you're walking with the Lord, there's more peace, there's more patience, there's more fruit of the Spirit. I mean, is what it comes down to, finally, maybe it's kicking in, and we have that opportunity to really live that out in a more thoughtful and intentional way. So
one thing I want to share real quick is that one little saying I have been having for myself is like, you go first, Chris, you go first. You want that mentor, reach out to them. Sometimes that can be scary. Like, hey, do you want to go to lunch? But most people are excited that they've been asked to go to lunch or go to coffee. They're honored. Like, just like when you asked me to be on I'm honored to be on your podcast. And so sometimes we get like, we think, oh, they're too busy. They don't have time, but go first. Ask them if you want something, that's the only way you're going to make it happen.
Ask. Yeah, that's right.
Go first. And even, and this applies to like health and fitness. Like if you want a walking buddy, go ask someone to go walk. It's harder to make friends in this season of life, I feel like. And so, but I'm, whenever someone asks me to do something, go for a walk, do this or that, I'm just like honored. And I'm like, yes, I would love to do that. Thank you for asking. And so anyway, I just want to encourage women and men out there who feel alone in their health journey or feel alone in any kind of journey with their walk with the Lord to just get a little vulnerable and ask. And the worst to say is no, and then just go to another person. You know what I mean? Usually they say yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, you kind of beat me to this last question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because I think you can say a little bit more. I always like to ask people at the end of the conversation, for anybody who's listening that feels like they are behind or it's too late or, they're discouraged or whatever. And the truth is, even when we act like everything's fine, I know a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are hurting. So if you had one thing to say to them, what would you say to that person who's sort of, they're kind of stuck and they need some help? What would you say to them?
I would say that, first of all, I love the idea, like, this is the youngest you'll ever be. So why not go ahead and start now and take advantage of whatever that is right now. And I think that, it's going to get a little uncomfortable but do it anyway. Like I said, like choose your hard, like go ahead and do hard things. We are created to do hard things. We get joy out of hard things. So reframing that and know that you're not alone. Like I think that our brains wire us to keep us safe, to keep us from doing anything new, because anything new, even if it's good for us, our brains are like, no, like this is different. This is uncomfortable. We need to stay safe, stay stuck, even though that's good for you. So it helps me to understand my brain. So just to acknowledge it, hey, my brain wants to keep me safe, but I know this is good for me. I'm going to do this anyway. And the more that you could take these little steps, that's going to lead you closer to your goal. And you don't need to be like sprinting. You could just take some baby steps. And the first thing to do is just to take that action, and you won't regret it. I mean, you won't regret taking that action. People wait for motivation. They feel stuck. They wait for motivation to hit you. But what creates that motivation is taking action, you know?
That's right.
So do it scared, do it uncomfortable, do it anyway. And then remember the feeling that you had when you did it. You probably have a really good feeling. Remember that feeling and then latch onto that the next time you don't want to do it and say, I know I'm going to feel in 15 minutes after I take that walk, I'm going to feel amazing. And just know that your brain is working against you, but just ignore it. And that's how you live this abundant life. So I hope that's helpful.
Well, it absolutely is. And the whole interview has been so good. I'm so grateful for you to take the time to do this and bring your unique perspective to this. I think it's really going to help a lot of people and encourage a lot of people. And I want to make sure that they can find you, because I know a lot of them might say, I'm going to follow Chris. I want to know what she's doing and learn from her. So how can people, what's the best way for them to find your stuff, find your coaching, et cetera, website, Instagram, whatever you've got? Share that with us.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's Functional Health Coach Chris 2.0. And then Chris DeHollander, I have a website, chrisdehollander.com. And so you can reach out, DM me anytime with any questions. I love having conversations with real people. So those are the two main places where you can just chat with me.
Okay. Well, we'll put that in the show notes to make sure everybody can find it. And because that Instagram name is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. And I wish I changed
What's the story? What's the story behind that? I meant to ask you.
Well, the 2.0, that's a long story, but the 2.0 came because my Instagram got hacked.
Oh, man. I figured that might have something to do with it.
Yes. And so I wanted people to find me again. So I just put 2.0. And I like 2.0. That feels like a up level, grade up, like,
right.
You know,
the new version.
And it really was. And that's a whole God story with that we didn't get to chat about. But that's, yeah. So that's a long answer to that. But Chris DeHollander is a long name anyway.
That's right. Well, we'll put it in there and they'll find you. And again, I thank you so much for what you're doing, how you're helping women and helping some men. You definitely encouraged me today. I'm so grateful for you and your energy and your brightness and your faith and just how your willingness to share it. So thank you so much for coming on here and doing this.
Thanks, Mark. I really enjoyed this.
Man, I hope you guys got as much out of that as I did. What an amazing guest, and her wisdom, her experience, her knowledge on all things when it comes to women's health and functional health as they're getting older. It's just incredible. And so many good life lessons too that she shared that apply to all of us, men and women alike. And I hope you got a lot out of that. Hey, we've got some amazing guests coming up over the next few weeks. We got a pastor friend of mine named Benji Kelly, who north of 50 has launched a brand new church. I'm so excited to hear about how that's going. And we've got Michael and Sherry Smith, who are going to come on and talk about visionary planning for the year and how they do that as a couple. And they lead an organization that helps couples do that. And so we're going to learn a lot from them about how to plan and vision for the years that are come. Hey, next week we have an amazing guest. It's Tim and Susan Tucker. And Tim and Susan have some incredible insights on helping to take care of aging parents and empty nesting and things of that nature. And I got to tell you right now, if you're in that boat or not, Jen and I are not in that boat. Our parents, unfortunately, are gone to be with the Lord, but we haven't had to process or deal with this. But the Tuckers have brought just an amazing amount of beauty and grace and learning into this experience that they've had with their parents. And I can't wait for you to hear about that. If you're on that journey, it'll help you. And if you're not on that journey like us, it's not an opportunity that you have to go through it. You're still going to learn a ton from that and some good life lessons that apply, I think, to many other aspects of life. So make sure you tune in next week for that. Thank you for being here today. We're so glad that you're part of this family, and we hope that you're learning as much as we are. Remember, it's not about us. It's all about us learning together. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time.